Hey y'all, I missed y'all so much. I know it's been a long time. We had to take a hiatus. First it was Tamika, then it was me. I know it's the end of the season. That means nothing. We are back in full effect. However, I'm alone. But that's okay. Um, this is part one of three, I believe. I know for sure part one of two. I decided to do part one by myself because I feel so selfish about the details of what I saw while I was away. I was not watching Sistas. In fact, the last time I recorded was the last time that I watched Sistas, and I'm happy that I did it that way because in binge watching like I did on Friday, my entire day into matter of fact, I believe I started Thursday night. I did start Thursday night, and it took for me the rest of the day, Friday, with very much interruptions. But I was able to finish it out, and I'm glad I did. I was dragging my feet a little bit because there was a lot of things going on with me, and I'm like, okay, I need to kind of reserve my emotions because you guys know I get into it. I get into it. I don't know if it's a Pisces thing or if it's just a Doris thing, but I am emotionally invested in most things. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but anyway, I have watched the rest of the season. So basically, this is a wrap up of part two of the season. Now, as stated previously, I will have another part, possibly two. I will not be doing it alone on those episodes. Anyway, guys, I'm so happy to be back. It really feels like I've been gone for real. And I missed you guys. I don't know if you missed me. But let us get into it. I'm so excited. Let me just ask you guys, did you see what I saw? Because I saw a lot. I didn't really take notes because I was so excited about what I saw. That it was like I didn't feel like writing a whole nother book because it would have been. However, I made sure to write down all the characters. I think. I hope. I just thought about it. I forgot two characters. So let me get them down. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much give an overview, basically, of how, I'm sorry, guys, I'm writing this down, of how I feel. So I really won't break down a character analysis. Maybe later I'll do that before the season comes back, which I believe is in July. So that'll give me plenty of time to break the characters down. Also, I'm really considering picking up another show. Right now, nothing's on. Like BMF is gone. I think it's coming back in June. Not for sure because it's been so much drama over there with 50 Cent and Big Meech and Lil Meech. So I don't know when they're coming back. Power's gone. Okay. Raising Kanan is on. I'm not watching that right now, but I'll probably binge watch it. But I don't think that I'm going to bring it on. Maybe I might. What else? Family Business is gone for now. I don't even know when they're returning. I did watch the New Orleans version. That right there, although I enjoyed the New Orleans, I really prefer just the original. So I don't think I'm going to get into that. Beauty in Black. Yes, that's our new one. So I will get back. I'll get into that when the new season returns. And I'll probably talk about that just before the new season. What else is left? Zatima is gone. So I may mention some of that today because there's a lot of it ties into it. So there's not much else that I can talk about, but I'm not going to disappear like I did this time. But there was a lot going on. I'm not going to let that happen again because y'all my babies. I have to be here to nurse y'all. But anyway, guys, so thank you. Thank you for listening to me and joining the conversation. If you have any comments, please, I welcome them because it's very tough when you're talking to yourself. No, seriously, I welcome the comments. I like the interactions. it really just, every time I get the notification, it just gives me life. So you guys make sure you comment. You make your suggestions, predictions. Hey, talk about me. Tell me what I did wrong, what I did right, what's been going on with you, because I do care. I care. Anyway, guys, let's get right into it. As I said, I wrote a list, but you guys know that I'm not very organized, so I'm going to be all over the place. I promise you. I'm going to be all over the place as I usually am. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's start out with, I always get it confused. Tamara. I just thought of a name, a key name that I forgot. Give me a second here. Well, let's get into Tamara. It may be Tamara. And it's crazy because I have a sister who has the same middle name, but her name is Tamara. So it's crazy. So I need to do some name association. But anyway, so let's get into her. It's funny because I haven't watched the show in so long, I can see how characters have changed. To me, her appearance has changed a little bit. She looked like she got some thicker. But anyway, it's not real important. She to me is still, she's a character that we can kind of do without. Hayden is hanging on to that relationship for whatever reason. I have no idea. Every time I think he's just going to close the door, it stays open. I think that he might feel like she's the best thing that ever happened to him, because why didn't he let her go, and why is he so protective? And it's kind of weird because they sort of kind of stick together, but when it's just them, they fight. There's a lot of confrontation, there's a lot of discord, but that's a set of characters we can kind of do without. But this relationship is giving Hayden, is making him seem like more of the mouse that he has been. It is making him look like more of a man because he's actually standing up, or as you guys might say, standing on business. He's kind of doing that. When they came in there and just punched him in the throat, I almost died. I was kind of mad because he didn't deserve it. That was her wrongdoing. But Fatima, after coming over to pretty much confront Tamara, somebody had to get the brunt of the beating, and she had to let them find out what was really going on. Now, it's crazy because Hayden didn't know what was up. Fatima comes over to pretty much strong arm Tamara into maybe letting her know that Hayden has something to do with all this. But Fatima made a phone call. I'm not sure if it was to Madam, but I'm sure that it was in affiliation with Madam. So they came over and stumped a hole, and they was the way they was throwing Hayden around had me in tears. I was rolling because they're throwing him around like he was a piece of paper. They didn't do anything to her. I was scared that they was gonna like punch her. I'm glad they didn't, because that would have been too much. But good enough. And then when Fatima came in, first of all, stop fighting, because it finally came out that she's pregnant on the show. You gotta stop this. It's time. You're over there breaking nails and slapping people. I get it. Tamara, she was doing the most when she tried to take the phone, when Fatima let her know, listen, I know you and Gary been in here bumping uglies. That was hilarious when she had to back slap. I don't know how she slapped her. It happened so fast. But that was good acting, and that was a good camera shot. My little nosy self, I was trying to see if that was a body double when Tamara hit the floor. I don't know if it was a body double. What you guys think? It was hard to tell. I was looking from the side to see if she was thinner. I always look at stuff like that. Also, guys, I got a film coming. I'll mention that over the next few episodes. But anyway, seeing that part had me rolling. I was disgusted because I was hating and Tamara. I think it's Tamara. How were they doing it on the couch like that, him knowing what he knew, she's really trying to sweep it up under the rug. But no. But I guess that is kind of like how it goes when you're involved with somebody and you've been cheating. I think that's how it goes when that other person does not want to let it go, but they're going to use every opportunity to rub it in your face. Yeah. So Hayden really, I was crying when he actually went to help Gary in all this. And then he let him know, listen, I'm not your friend, guy. That was interesting. But when he got beat up, he had to function like everything was okay. I was just looking at his face and how nobody was really saying anything. The only person I believe that noticed it, of course, was Fatima. I don't remember if Andy made a comment about it or even made a deal about it at all. I don't recall that. But yeah, that was funny. Now, when he was with Gary, when he took Gary, I'm assuming to his new, well, it might have been an office that he used before. It wasn't the last office that he had. But when he took him there and he made sure he was tucked in comfortably. Gary never said anything about his face. You guys let me know if I missed that. But I don't remember seeing him or hearing him say anything about his face. I know I'm jumping. But if you all watch the show, you have to remember that I watched everything in two pops, two sessions. I watched these episodes. So for me, I got to kind of sandwich it in, and I'm sure I'm jogging some of you guys' memories. But anyway, so Hayden, he's standing up for himself, and it's almost like, I don't know how old you guys are, but Dallas. And I've talked about this before, Who Shot JR, or even the game Clue, where everybody's mentioning what they saw of what somebody else did and where they were to even see it. And so that's kind of what's going on with Tamara and Hayden. It's like a game of Clue. Okay, I saw you with the knife, but you put the knife down. Well, I had the knife, but I left because I saw X, Y, Z. That right there was getting tiring to me at the first few episodes of this second half. That was kind of getting tired of me. The whole board that Fatima, you guys know I just call her Zatima, the whole board that Fatima and Zach created to be ghetto detectives or inspectors, that whole thing. But anyway, moving on. So they got Samara and Hayden got their heads kicked in. Hayden is here with Gary. Now Hayden, somehow he was able to remove Hudson. And remember, guys, I could never get Hudson's name right. But he was to remove him from, I guess I'll call it as Gary's guardian. And that was kind of smooth because Hayden went to, and I had this part, is it Mary or Marie? Let's just call her Miss Wallace. He went to Miss Wallace. He put his face in the place, and I hope that everybody here is an adult, but he put his face in the place for Miss Wallace because he was trying to get her to get the judge to overturn the guardianship that Hudson had on Gary. I said that good. I got the words out because it was a mess. She told Hayden that she would reverse it after he put his face in the place, but she didn't. I just knew she was going to do it because she acts like, I can't use the word, but she acts like he got her strung out. No, because I saw him in that black t-shirt and those black boxers, and yeah, no. But anyway, to each his own. But she was impressed, but not enough to do what he asked her to do, which was to call the judge to remove Hudson from guardianship. So what Hayden did was he had information on the judge and he was able to make it so that he I guess he could get guardianship. I'm not clear on that. But however it went, he did have him removed. Anyway, so Hayden, and we'll see what happens between those two. Right now, I don't really see how they will be attached to this situation with who stabbed Gary. I don't see how they may be attached next time because they've been shut up pretty much by Madam and her goons. So I don't see how they might be tied, but with everything else that happened in the second half of the season, I don't see how it would be important because Hayden has already let Gary know, look, I know that you've been bumping uglies with my wife. Excuse me, I'm drinking coffee. I know you've been bumping uglies with my wife. Let's stop it. It is funny because Gary had he had this respect for Hayden, like that's my guy right there. That's my best friend. Gary and Hayden weren't really best friends. They were just bound by greediness. They weren't really best friends. So I hate that that is the thing that's being used. They had a common goal. So they really weren't best friends. But anyway, Gary's like, I like that guy. He's that's my bestie. He's cool. I really like him. Let's go to Gary again. The way they had Gary looked like me in the morning. He was a mess. He was a flat out mess. And so, you know what? They also, and that fascinates me when I watch shows, they really made him look like he was smaller unless he did lose weight for the show. I always look at that because in Love and Basketball, and guys, I mentioned this before, Hayden played in Love and Basketball as one of the children. I believe he was like 8 or 9 years old. But I look at it, Sanaa Lathan, for that role, she was an adult. However, she was to lose 30 pounds to play that character. Also, 50 Cent, I can't remember the name of the movie. All Things Fall Apart. All Things Fall Apart. In that movie, he lost a lot of weight to play, I believe, a cancer. I guess I'm going to call it a cancer victim. Can't call him a survivor. So with Hayden, I'm just wondering if he lost weight for that role or if they may have made his face slimmer with makeup. That is possible. And if they might have dressed him in such a way. But he looked like he lost weight, as people do when they are lying in a hospital bed. But anyway, Gary is out with a vengeance. They try, at first I was fooled just a little bit about his loss of memory. But as you all know, that was trash. I thought that he might have come around. But he was so attached to Andy, like she was his mom. And so after so long, that's when I began to realize that he had come out of whatever he was going through and he was ready to shake things up. Now, this young nurse, or I don't know what you might call her, I don't think she was a nurse, but she's that person that comes around. I don't know the title of that person. They really do exist, where they come around and make sure that you have everything that you need. Now, a nurse does that, but there usually is another person that comes around to make sure you're comfortable. Do you need anything? Can I get something for you? And so they had this lady come in, young lady, maybe somebody that was fresh out of college. She comes in and Gary tricks her into opening his straps, the restraints that they had on him. He convinced her to do it by saying that he would pay her college tuition. Okay, first of all, I owe college tuition. Okay, I went to school for so long that they said, listen, I was trying to get a second master's degree. They was like, listen, you have nothing left, ma'am. There was no more cash left for me. I have not jumped from a bridge because I have an outstanding balance. But this young lady was excited at the mention of this man paying for her college bill. He told her he would do it. Anyway, we're never going to see her again. She's never going to get that money unless Tyler decides that he wants to add another character with a vengeance towards Gary. But I don't see that happening. Now, if I should mention Gary as we go along, which I will, that's fine. I need you guys to stay with me. Keep up. Because, my memory is bad. And not only is my memory bad, I'm excited from all the things that I saw. And those who listen to me on a regular, something happened that I can't wait to talk about. But I'm kind of saving that just a little bit further on in the show. And this show is going to be a little longer than what it typically is because I have so much to say. Going down my list. Now remember, I'm not going in order. Let's talk about Damani. Damani is the guy who works for the company that Sabrina works for that donated the sperm to her earlier in the season. Complete stranger. He finds out what Sabrina's doing. And Sabrina getting on my nerves because she's talking to too many people about her business. I understand when you're looking for direction and you go to several different people for their perspective. Not only that, you just need a shoulder. Find you two good shoulders, girl. And if that's not doing, if you still feel like you have the need to discuss what it is that you're going through, get yourself a therapist and stop telling everybody your business. She told Paige, Maurice, of course she had to tell Rich. She told Damani, she told Calvin, she told at least two of the girls. She even tried to tell Pam. So let's just say she told at least 10 people what her problem was. Listen, girl, shake it off, get you a journal, and stop making a fool out of yourself. You done cried on the job. Just chill out. Just chill out. But we'll get back to Sabrina. Damani, when he first came on the show, I'm like, okay, who is this big head little man? But he actually is serving a purpose. And so since so many things went wrong in that situation, I do believe that Damani's going to be around for a minute. Let me jump. Rich found out that his sperm are not viable to attach to Sabrina's eggs because he's carrying the sickle cell trait. Okay. Now with the sickle cell trait, the baby is okay pretty much as long as you don't connect with somebody who actually has it or has the trait also. Okay. They didn't really make that clear in the show, but what they were saying was that his sperm were not viable, meaning that they cannot use his sperm with Sabrina's eggs because that's policy. However, that does not mean that they can't have a baby by bumping uglies. That's not what it said. I don't know why. Well, yes, I do. Sabrina changed her mind because she doesn't want to run the risk of that. But that's because they don't know how the game goes. Now, I have a daughter she carries, goodness, I can't even think, hemoglobin C trait. And she just had a baby, pregnant again, but she'll be fine because her husband, he doesn't carry any of the traits or the disease. Hemoglobin C trait is like the sister to sickle cell or hemoglobin C. That's the sister. However it goes, whether it's the trait or the actual, I hate to call it a disease, but if it's that, they're sisters. They could have made a baby, but with Sabrina, I don't think that she's willing to run the risks of her child having a trait. So I think that she should have been honest with Rich and told him, listen, I'm scared. I don't know. But instead she told him that she wasn't saying that she wanted to have a baby tomorrow. I don't know about that. I don't know. Because it came across to me like she was off and running. Now, Sabrina's 35 years old. Okay. So when you have a baby, if you guys don't know, after 35 and over, you're at high risks. I had a baby. I was 38. I was just a few months from being 39. So let's just say 39. And that did make me high risk. I had no difficulties. It was by the grace of God. But it makes you high risk because Sabrina hasn't had any children. You would think that she would want to have a baby right away because she is 35 and older. But she tells Rich, this is not like I want to have a baby right now, but this is important to me now. I get it. I get it that she wants to have this baby, but this is what she tells him. I was pissed because how many times were they going to break up? How many times were they going to break up in that second half of the season? Every time you turned around, they broke up without breaking up. Pick a side and stay on it. And if that person is not picking a side, and staying on it, then that's when you come in and you pick a side and stay on it. I was just confused about how she came back from this business trip with Damani. She had a beautiful time, skin glowing, stories to tell, smiling, but all that changed. It was a dark cloud that entered the set when she had to deal with Richard, or Rich. They don't call him Richard. But anyway, that says to me we broke up. It said to me that they broke up after they spoke about how she wanted this baby, but he couldn't give it to her. She should have just flat out told him, listen, this is what's going on. But instead of her flat out telling him, she was tiptoeing around it and tap dancing on the possibility and telling everybody else except for him flat out. Just like flat out, let's have this conversation. We're going in two different directions. This has to be it. Now, it was pretty much said, but it wasn't pretty much done. It just kept going around in circles and circles and circles. And so it's like once they would break up, then that other person would come back. We need to have a conversation. The conversation has been had. Sorry, guys, I need to take a small sip. Anyway, the conversation had been had, but I guess it wasn't discussed in its totality. Like the conversation had been, it had been discussed. But anyway, so they're going back and forth, and it's like Rich kept catching her in these compromising situations. He catches her with Damani, and he's wrong for constantly showing up to places, and she did the same. But I don't feel like when you're on the outskirts the way that they were, that you should be able to show up. I have a problem with showing up anyway, especially on the job. It's very inappropriate. I can see if you showing up like how Zach would do, and that's a whole nother story, with the sandwich and the drink, and you're just dropping off. But in this day and age, you don't even have to do that. You can just have it sent. Let's call Uber Eats or Grubhub or whatever other DoorDash. Let's give them a call and get that food, that lunch sent over there. We don't need you to carry it because we have other people in place for that. But anyway, he shows up. She's talking to Damani in one case, and then she was talking to Paige. I'm not sure if he showed up while she's talking to Maurice. Can't remember, guys. But anyway, so she's going through all these changes, and I think that they should, which they eventually did. They were forced to let the situation go. I'll get back to them. Damani, I think that he is trying to be a permanent fixture. I feel like the whole situation right there was inappropriate, but there again, we have to look at it that Sabrina is this desperate. Now, this guy Damani, yes, he has a motive, and you can't be mad at it because she's allowing it. If he comes in as a good guy and he stays as a good guy, then awesome. Now, right now, although he seems to be just a little, I don't want to call him cringe, just a little weird, kind of, sort of, kind of. But this is what she's attracted because she has this doe-eyed look. And I don't want to say that she's desperate, but she talks too much. Damani wouldn't even know what was going on with her, a complete stranger, if she hadn't just opened up because she's going through what she's going through. I am an avid journal keeper. I started keeping a journal when I was 9 years old. Here I am now. Oh, guys, I just had a birthday on the 18th. I turned 53. Yes, I am that old. But anyway, I think that, I don't know. She needs to get a journal. She needs to keep a journal or a diary. I've been keeping a journal since I was 9. Well, at least I started when I was 9. I lost quite a few along the way from natural disasters. I'll just call them natural disasters. But consistently, I have been able to maintain my journals for the last maybe 15 years. So, and when I say maintain, that's consistently. That's not to say that I don't have journals from prior to the 15 years, the maybe 15 years. But anyway, she needs to try it because what's her name? Danny, I think she was keeping a journal for a minute, but she needs to keep a journal or consult with, hey, she can consult with the Danny's therapist, Carisha, whatever her name is. I think that's her name, Carisha. But anyway, so we'll see what happens with Damani. He has a good listening ear, but there again, we don't know what's going on with him. We don't even know if there's somebody in his background. Like, does he have a wife and a family? Are there some children in the background of his life? We'll see what happens. Now, let's continue on with Sabrina. Sabrina and Rich are going back and forth. Calvin shows up. I have always liked Calvin. I hated that he has a feminine side. I hate that. But just in a moment of desperation, guys, I just want to say this, and I'm being honest. I wish he would stop. Just stop. Stop. Get out of this moment of confusion, but he's not going to be able to get out of that because you have to remember that he has two dads. I think one of them passed, but he grew up under two dads. So because of that liberal upbringing, he has been open to different experiences. But anyway, so he shows back up to talk to Sabrina. I forgot that he left without notice. I forgot. And I'm trying to remember what was going on with Sabrina when he left. I believe he left right after she got out of jail. But you have to remember that he did put up $24,000 for her release. But they didn't have anything consistent or etched in stone. They hadn't been together in a long time, but he was still hanging around and he was a good friend. But he comes back. He's had this white girlfriend that he pretty much left with, but he came back, I think, as a friend. If his character was stronger, then I would think that he could be the one for Sabrina. But his character, he's not, I don't feel like he's masculine enough to carry out a relationship with her. I guess we'll kind of see. Now, the way that Tyler wrote this, if he wrote it, because there was something came out over time that he did not write it. He had hired new writers and he wasn't watching the shows before they came out. So that was that was concerning. But the way that this show was written, this season could have easily been the final season. That's the writer in me, but we'll get back to that. So Calvin, I don't think is a strong enough character. He would make a good friend, but at this point, Sabrina is all over the place anyway. So moving on for a minute with Sabrina. Well, no, let me get back to that now. Sabrina, as the shows, and it's funny because to me it feels like I watched one huge episode. So guys, keep up with me if you can as I jump around, because although I watch the shows consistently, I had to hold this information. But I watched the shows. Today is Sunday. I actually watched the shows on Thursday and Friday, so I wanted to come to you guys pretty fresh. But anyway, so Sabrina and Rich are going back and forward and back. And at the end of the show, she catches Rich with Penelope. This is at the end of the season. I didn't see that coming. However, I was able to see how desperate Penelope was. She was just looking for somebody. She was looking to give it away with a double coupon because here she is. She couldn't, she thought that the investigator was her friend and her potential beau. I didn't see that. Maybe that happened in the first half of the second first half of the season. I don't remember. I didn't watch that. I hadn't watched that since it first came out. So I was watching it consistently back then. So I don't remember. But she really thought that he was a friend. And then here comes Robin. She thought that he was a potential. I really thought that they were going to end up together. I'm glad they didn't. But anyway, so at the end, all of a sudden, there's this chemistry that we never saw. I didn't see it coming with her and Rich. I think that they were just in two vulnerable places and they combined the two. But I was disgusted. I'm mad the way that they're playing the clothes that they're putting on Penelope. Yes, I got to take it there. Penelope is flat chested, and I get it because when I was younger, I'm not flat chested anymore, guys. But when I was younger, I considered myself to be close to being flat chested. Stop lifting the breast that she has up. Just let them be. She has a nice little shape. She'll be okay. It's okay not to have very much breast, but when they lift them up the way that they do, now that's cringe. But anyway, I just had to put that out there. The little dress she had on at the end was so adorable and cute. However, when she hiked it up for Rich, what was going on? I'm mad because you guys, you're doing it in this juice bar or little restaurant, however you want to put it, surrounded by glass. So somebody could look in there easily. Now, she had already asked Jordan to go outside. I thought that she was going to comfort. Well, I guess she did comfort him. I thought she was just going to comfort Rich. But they're in there bumping uglies. Anybody could have seen. I thought Jordan might have seen it and been in shock. However, here comes Sabrina bringing back some of his things, being inappropriate on his job. Send his stuff. Send him his things or set his stuff outside of her apartment or take him to his place and set it outside of his home. She could have even given, well, I'm not going to go there yet because I got to get to that part of the story. But anyway, they're bumping uglies and she catches him. That better be, and this was at the end, okay? This needs to be the end of their relationship. This needs to be it. And perhaps, but see, they're going to need closure. They're going to either actually try to work it out, or they're going to cut ties. But because this happened at the very end and it hung open, Tyler could make it so that they've broken up at the end of the season and we never see Rich again. I wouldn't be sad if that happens. I would lose no sleep. I would not be sad if that happens because I feel like the situation is drawing on. And if she's going to have this baby, which I don't think she ever will, then she needs to go ahead and focus on Damani. Now, I was displeased with the fact that she opened up to Pam because Pam does not care. Pam is doing what she does, and that's okay. But her and Sabrina are not friends. I was displeased that she opened up to Paige. Just because Paige has formed a slight alliance with Maurice because she has come out and mentioned to him that she has a gay brother, I was disgusted that Sabrina shared tears. I was disgusted. But anyway, so that's enough about Sabrina. That's it. We'll see what happens in the next season with her and Damani, her and Calvin, which I think that Calvin was just a stop through. I don't know if that was to give us hope or to give us closure. But anyway, so we'll see what happens with Sabrina. Next on my list is Fatima. And this show is really running over. We're at 40 minutes right now. I'm only going to go for a few more minutes, and I'm actually going to have a part 2 to this episode. I didn't know it was going to go this way, but I'm trying to make sure that I talk about each of the characters. Let's go to Fatima. Fatima, who they carried it over, guys. Remember, we were saying that the storylines would be different between the two shows. So we were going to have to learn. When I say two shows, I'm talking about Zatima and Sistas. We were going to have to learn to accept the separation of the two shows. But because she's pregnant, there was no way that they could keep keep the storyline separate. Now, in this portion of the show, I'm going to talk about Fatima, and I might have to pick up in my second episode. But anyway, Fatima is not pregnant in real life, I don't guess. But she certainly looks like she is because her little face has gotten wrong. And you have to have to consider that I hadn't been watching. And so I see the differences in the appearance of the characters. Okay, like perhaps Danny has gained a few pounds. Fatima has gained a few pounds. Calvin looks more mature. And Jasmine, who comes back at the end, Gary's ex-wife, she's changed a lot for the better. But anyway, so let me go back to Fatima. Fatima is still, and I love Fatima, but I'm going to say that she serves as a mother figure to many of the characters. Sabrina, Zach, Andy, and she's not a mother figure to Karen, but she stands over Karen. I believe that Fatima she's older than Karen also on the show. So I believe that she plays an older role. But anyway, Fatima, she's doing what she does. She and Zach are still trying to solve this case. Zatima goes in, as I stated before, she goes in to confront Tamara and Hayden. I thought that she was going to get caught when she was going through Hayden's stuff. I was so nervous when he said, okay, let me go back in. I guess he had forgotten something. I just knew she was going to get caught. I don't even know what she was looking for. Is that where she got the recording from of Gary and Tamara bumping uglies, or Tamara bumping uglies? I don't know. Either I never knew or I forgot. So, but anyway, she almost gets caught. But Fatima, she tells Karen that she's pregnant. She tells Karen that she's pregnant. It was time for Karen to know. Because let's stop playing games. It was time for Karen to know. Karen's reaction was to go into false labor. This would have been a perfect time for her to just go into labor. But if she had done that, then the story couldn't have ended as sweetly as it did as far as her relationship with Aaron. So it could not have gone as sweetly as it did. But anyway, so Fatima, there she is playing mother bear, being there and having to be a part of Karen's short hospital stay. But moving on, Fatima is again very supportive of everybody. You have to go back if you guys forgot how Fatima and Fatima and Danny formed a bond at the beginning of this season. They formed a bond, and I think that they did that purposely because Zach has such a close relationship with Danny, which has always been wonderful to see something like that that's pure, that never crossed the line, and pretty much never had they were never going in sorry guys, they were never going that way, although they got kind of close, but it wasn't real. It was a thing of, listen, Sabrina saying to Zach, get yourself together. But anyway, that was in the earlier seasons. But Fatima, she went to Karen as a grown woman, and she basically let her know, or they discussed, because there was really no letting her know that we have to do this together. I'm going to love your children, and Karen's on deck saying that she's going to love her children. So I'm happy that they made it so that Karen can stop showing up, or will stop showing up, to Zach and Fatima's place. Now, Zach was inappropriate, I think, when he got kind of excited when he saw Karen at the salon and he felt the baby. I think he felt the baby kicking. So he got kind of excited and was over texting, and Karen showed up to the house. she should not have showed up to the house. That was a conversation that she should have had with Zach, or she could have blocked Zach or put him on Do Not Disturb because he was in her way. She could have done that, but she chose to show up. It was crazy how Fatima is now pretty much representing Miss like I said, we'll just call her Miss Wallace. So they're keeping their business relationship business first part of the day. Well, in the daytime and in the night or out of the office, it just totally changes. But she let her know, listen, you got to stop showing up to my place. And she showed up to Karen's place without notice, which that made sense to me because listen, you're making me feel uncomfortable. So here I am. And I don't think that she was really being petty, but she was getting her point across. So I'm glad that they have rectified their relationship. I don't think that it's going to go crazy anymore after this. I think that this was the finalization of all the discord between Fatima and Karen. And that was good. That was nice. I'm going to continue with Fatima some more. And when I return, because as I stated, I didn't think that that I would go this long, but I guess it makes sense because I'm only on the fourth person on my list. And yes, I am following my list of characters. As I said, I will be jumping around. But anyway, so Fatima, her goal is as always is to be supportive. So Danny had not a nervous breakdown. She didn't have a heart attack, but she had a panic attack, and it was very nice. It was beautiful that Zach showed up, but I'll get back to that. Fatima also was, she supported, Danny in her time of need. That was good. That was good because Danny, not only was she respectful of her relationship with Zach, but this tied her back to the birth of their relationship where they were out having drinks and things like that. So that was good. Well, anyway, Fatima, I was I don't want to go into that because that's the last thing I want to talk about. But Fatima is there for Andy as always. She even tried to teach Andy how to fight. That's never going to happen. Andy is very dainty on the show, and she's very dainty in real life. Now she played on the Family Business and she was about that life. She was kicking butt on that show. So that showed a little bit of her, but I believe that was probably her fantasy to play Sasha on the Family Business, which by the way, I wish they would bring Sasha back, but I'll talk about that when if I decide to talk about the Family Business. But she's very dainty. Fatima's teaching her these moves because she's thinking that she might have to use them at some point, I believe with Gary, because she didn't have bad blood. Oh, no. Let me go back. She was thinking that she might have to use them with Penelope because Penelope, she smacked Andy. She smacked her because she's so angry about about how Andy took Jordan through the changes that she took Jordan through. Jordan allowed her to do that. He saw that Andy was flighty, but he allowed her to do that because he was always hopeful. He was always so undecided about which way he wanted to go, or at least how he would be received going in a way that he wanted to go. Anyway, so Fatima, as I stated before, she's doing too much moving around to be pregnant. I'm not saying she should be sitting down with her feet up at this point, but she's doing too much and she needs to soften up and consider the baby. Now, she considered her pregnancy in Zatima, but right now she's not. She's doing too much moving. And finally, Zach was able to tell her to have several seats at the end of the season. I'll get to that. Fatima is supportive with any of the decisions that Andy makes, as I knew that she would be. One thing about Fatima, she's an advocate for love. She's an advocate for surviving differences in relationships because she's had to do so much of that with Zach. So I'm happy about that. Now, I don't want to say too much because if you've been listening to this show for the years that we've been here, you all know that I'm an advocate for Robin. And I'm trying not to get into it. I know you guys can hear the laughter and the tears in my voice about Robin. You know that's just my choice he's just my choice. But anyway, so Fatima is, as always, an ally for Andy and anything that she does. She's still there for Zach. I was kind of pissed off because why is Zach calling Fatima his wife? Hurry up and get married if that's how you feel. People are not going to respect what you say. They're not going to respect my wife, my wife, my wife, until you go ahead and just say, I don't even know what they're waiting for unless Tyler's going to drop a bomb right there. But they should go ahead and have a hush-hush wedding. They hid that they were engaged. Go ahead and have a hush-hush wedding. But what's really interesting is nobody knows that Fatima's pregnant except for Karen. And please let me know if I am wrong, but I don't think that anybody knows that. Nope, nobody knows it. I think that they're doing it this way so it doesn't serve as a distraction with Fatima pretty much mothering everybody else. So I think that that's why the writers are doing that. We spoke about Richard. There's really not much else to say. Richard, I felt like he was kind of weak when Jordan was incarcerated as far as his support because you didn't see or feel his presence when Jordan needed a friend. We have